Somewhere along the southern border of South Africa's Kruger National Park, in the dead of a moonless night, a group of men are moving through the bush. They have no torches, no food, no water. They are exhausted, thirsty, and terrified, and they are running from something far worse than poverty or border police. They are running from lions, not ordinary lions, not the dignified, camera-aware predators of wildlife documentaries. These lions have learned something ancient and terrible, that human beings, out here in the dark, are prey. Welcome to the true story of the man-eating lions of Kruger National Park, a story of survival, desperation, and one of the most haunting predator-human relationships in modern wildlife history. Today, we ask the question most wildlife filmmakers would never dare voice. What happens when lions stop fearing us? To understand how this nightmare began, you need the geography. Kruger National Park covers nearly 20,000 square kilometers, roughly the size of Wales. On its eastern border lies Mozambique, one of the poorest countries on Earth. And for decades, a thin strip of fence between the two countries became the most dangerous stretch of ground in southern Africa. Not because of landmines, though there were some. Not because of soldiers, though there were those too. But because of what waited on the South African side, in the dark grass just beyond the wire. Robert Frump, a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, first stumbled onto this story in the early 1990s. What he found was almost unbelievable. A population of lions in southern Kruger that had, over generations, developed a taste for human flesh, specifically the flesh of Mozambican migrants, crossing illegally into South Africa in search of work. These men crossed the border in their thousands every year. Many made it. Many were caught. And some, their exact number unknown, never arrived at all. They were taken by the lions. The question Frump keeps returning to: how does a lion become a man-eater? The conventional wisdom is that lions avoid humans. They're wary of our smell, our noise, our fire. A healthy lion with access to zebra and buffalo has no reason to risk attacking something that fights back. But the lions of southern Kruger were given reasons. The migrants moved at night, in small groups of 2 to 5, through exactly the terrain lions prefer: dry riverbeds, open savanna, dense acacia scrub. They carried no weapons, they had no fire, and they were exhausted. A tired, dehydrated person stumbling through the dark makes barely more noise than a water buck. The first incidents, Frump found, date back decades. Rangers initially blamed drownings in the Limpopo, or deportations. But slowly, the evidence accumulated. Scattered clothing, drag marks, human bones with the distinctive scoring of large felids. By the 1980s, it was an open secret among park rangers. The lions along the southern boundary were taking people. And it was getting worse. One of the most harrowing chapters in Frump's book describes a single night in the 1990s when a group of migrants encountered lions not once, but twice. About a dozen men had crossed the Mozambican border and were pushing west through Kruger, hoping to reach the boundary fence on the South African side. They had been walking for hours. They were almost through. Then, without warning, a lion hit the group from behind. In the chaos, the men scattered. Some ran, some climbed trees, some froze. The lion, a large female, from the spoor evidence later recovered, seized one man by the back of the neck and dragged him into the darkness. The survivors huddled together until first light, listening. Some say they could hear sounds from the bush, the crunch, the tearing. They did not sleep. At dawn, they moved again. They were only a few kilometers from the fence, but the lions had followed. A second attack came from the flank. Another man was taken. Of the 12 men who entered Kruger that night, 7 reached the fence. 7 out of 12. And those 7 couldn't report it to anyone. No documents, no contacts, no one to file a missing persons report. The 5 men who never came out? Their families in Mozambique probably waited months before accepting. One of the most disturbing elements of Frump's investigation is his attempt to identify the specific lions responsible. Rangers and trackers describe certain prides as repeat offenders, concentrated around Crocodile Bridge and Lower Sabi, their territories overlapping precisely with the migrant crossing routes. These lions had learned, over multiple generations, to exploit that overlap. And this is the chilling part. Man-eating behavior, once learned, appears to be passed down. A lioness who successfully kills a human teaches her cubs through association. They smell human scent and learn to connect it not with danger, but with food. By the time those cubs lead their own hunts, humans are simply another prey species, slower than wildebeest, easier than buffalo, defenseless in the dark. One veteran ranger told Frump about watching a known man-eating pride react to a tourist who leaned out of a vehicle window. A single lioness lowered her head and narrowed her eyes. He radioed the vehicle immediately. They thought he was being overcautious. He knew he was saving a life. One man, given a pseudonym to protect his identity, described crossing Kruger with 3 friends, late 20s. He had made the crossing twice before and considered himself experienced. He knew to walk in groups, no fires, keep moving. What he didn't know was that the dry riverbed he used as a landmark had become a regular hunting ground for a pride from the south. The first sign was a smell, heavy, warm, musky. He stopped, told the others. They stood still, listened. Nothing. They began walking again. 50 meters later, something hit his friend from the right, so fast, so silent, he didn't register it as an attack. He described it as a shadow becoming a thing, and the thing becoming sound. His friend screamed, tearing through the night. He ran. He ran for what he estimates was 20 minutes without stopping. He climbed a marula tree and sat until the sky turned gray. He never saw his friend again. In the morning light, he found drag marks in the riverbed sand, and one sandal, half buried. He told Frump, "In my village, if someone dies, we bury them. We say words. Their family knows. Here, nothing. Just the grass and the lions." Perhaps the most morally complex dimension of Frump's book is the impossible position of Kruger's park rangers. Their mandate is clear: protect the wildlife of Kruger. That includes the lions, but those same lions are killing people. And those people, Mozambican migrants crossing illegally, are technically trespassers on park property. For years, the official response was to do nothing. The lions were protected. The migrants were illegal. The problem, officially, did not exist. Frump documents the profound discomfort felt by rangers, men who loved the animals they protected, but who could not ignore what they were finding in the field: human remains, scattered belongings, evidence of predation on a scale that could only mean one thing. Some tried to intervene quietly, warning migrant groups, radioing ahead, escorting people out of danger zones. But this was outside their official remit. The tracker Frump profiles most closely, he calls him Beloyi, described following a drag trail to its end and finding bones. "You look at those teeth marks," Beloyi said, "and you think, that was someone's son. Why Kruger, specifically? The answer lies in what ecologists call the ecology of fear, the learned behaviors that govern how predators and prey interact. In healthy ecosystems, large predators typically avoid humans. Not because lions are timid, but because historically we are dangerous. We have fire, weapons, and we retaliate. A pride that killed a human would historically pay with the lives of several pride members." Kruger disrupted this calculus completely. Inside the park, lions are fully protected. Over generations, they have lost much of their instinctive wariness of people. They have learned that humans in cars are harmless. And they have learned that humans on foot, tired, in the dark, without weapons, are not dangerous at all. The migrant crossing routes run directly through prime lion territory. Every group is exposed for several hours. No vehicle, no gun, no fire. In the eyes of a habituated southern Kruger lion, they are the easiest prey. Throughout Man-Eaters of Eden, Frump returns to a painful truth. We will never know how many people died inside Kruger's southern section. The migrants had no papers. They traveled in secret. Their families, back in Mozambique, might assume they had simply found work and stopped writing. Missing persons were not unusual in a country devastated by decades of civil war. Frump's estimate, based on survivor interviews, ranger accounts, and community records, is that the number of people killed and eaten by lions between the 1960s and early 2000s runs into the hundreds. Some sources put it higher. These men were fathers, sons, brothers. They crossed the border not for adventure, but because their families were hungry. And when the lions took them, no one filed a report. No one opened an investigation. No file was ever created. The park kept records of its lions. Nobody kept records of this. The southern boundary of Kruger National Park looks much the same today as it did in Robert Frump's time. The fence runs east to west. The lions patrol their territories in the dark, and people still cross from Mozambique into South Africa, on foot at night, for the same reasons they always have. Nobody knows how many are taken each year. That's the part of this story that stays with you. Not just the horror of the attacks, or the scale of the tragedy. It's the silence, the systemic, bureaucratic silence around the deaths of people who were never supposed to be there. Frump ended his investigation with a simple, devastating observation. In all his years of research, all the official records, all the interviews, he found almost no formal acknowledgement that these deaths had occurred. The lions are in the record books. The prey is not.